Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call our monthly meeting to order today, November 19th, 2020. At this time, I would ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. This time, if everyone would join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time, board members will go down to approve our agenda. We do have one item this evening to add, and I would like to make a motion to add item D to the agenda, which is to consider contracts for school-based mental health care providers. And this was something that Ms. Penley had brought us recently. And we just need to add this to the agenda to approve the contract tonight. So I make a motion to add under item D.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of adding the item D to the agenda, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. And now we need to approve the amended agenda. And I make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the amended agenda, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. So we'll move on down to recognitions. Miss Embry, you have any tonight for us?
I do. Good evening, board members and guests. I'm going to attempt to share my screen again. All right. Stephanie, are you seeing that?
I am, yes.
Wonderful. All right. So this evening, I've got a few outstanding students that I'd like to recognize. With this being November, I wanted to center it around being thankful. We definitely have so much to be thankful for. Two particular students that I'm recognizing tonight are members of our beta clubs. Our first one is with our junior beta club at Muhlenberg North Middle. Miss Lily Cheney, earlier this year, she competed, and I believe it was through Zoom or through a virtual meeting, and she was chosen as a Kentucky State Leadership Representative. That is a huge honor, and according to the beta sponsor, I don't believe anyone has ever come out of North Middle with this title. So this is going to give Lily an opportunity this coming summer to go to Orlando and compete at the national convention for a national leadership representative. And then our next one is at the high school, and that is Miss Paige Lewis. And she competed for the same thing and received with the senior beta, the Kentucky State Leadership. So with Lily, I do want to say she is a 7th grader at North Middle, and her parents are Brian and Megan Cheney of Greenville. And then Paige Lewis, she is a sophomore at Muhlenberg County High School, and her parents are Aaron and Chris Groves of Drakesboro and James Lewis of Central City. We want to congratulate these ladies on their accomplishment, and we wish them well and success this coming summer. North Middle yesterday did a fundraiser. They're thinking outside the box with the food truck and trying to raise money for these type of events. I also just want to let you all board members know that within this next week, I'm going to be posting some random videos, hopefully on social media, of different areas across our school district on what we're thankful for, personally, professionally. And so today we gathered up our troops at the central office. You will need to turn your volume up because it was a very windy day, but here's just a quick snippet of what our videos are going to look like. That'll give you just a taste of what some of our videos are going to be like that I'm going to be posting throughout the county this next week. So I encourage you to stay close to our social media page and check out what all we're thankful for. And that concludes my recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations to Lily and Paige. We are very proud of you.
Yes, we are. Good job, ladies.
We'll move on down now to our treasurer's report. Mr. Bletzinger.
Good evening, Sharon Rager. Get pulled up here. All right, tonight I bring you the financials as of October 31st, 2020. Revenues, beginning balance is about 20.1 million. That's down by 698,000. SEEK is down, or excuse me, monthly receipts are up by 79,000 from last month and up 470,000 from the same period last year. SEEK is down 18,000, but federal and state are both up. Taxes are down 41,000, and other is down 225,000. Did want to give you an update on the taxes. Our franchise tax that we received in August of 2020 was actually for fiscal year 20. So that put our tax collection rate then at that point at 99.86%. So I think this is a give credit to Ricky Allen and his team and with Sabrina and those folks. So just something good to really remember him. So our monthly receipts were 2.77 million for the total revenues of cash and securities of 22.896 million. Expenditures, our accounts payable was 1.5 million. That was up about 557,000 when compared to the same period of last year. That is primarily in debt service. The significant bills in October were 855,000 to Old National, 42,000 to Pogue, which was the new Suburban, and 39,000 to Westerfield Builders. Payroll is down 127,000 versus October of 2019 at 2.62 million, and our sub costs are down 90%. So obviously we're not using them as much this year, but that's a definite help for us for a total expense of 4.2 million. The breakdown of that, the fixed and mixed costs were about 1.2 million, utilities 100,000, and variable expenses were 179,000. Of that, general fund was 432,000, fund 2 and school activity fund was 49,000, construction 39,000 with the Westerfield Builders payment, debt service 855,000, food service and daycare was 137,000. So the ledger balance at the close of the month was 18.7 million. The bank balance was 11.5. Outstanding checks of 613,000 for cash at the end of the month of about 10.95 million. Breakdown of that cash balance. Excuse me. What's that page? Really, the most significant amount was in debt service at 855,000 and our general fund of 695,000 for 18.7 million. The extended financial picture, we expect to have 23.6 million in March of 21, and that's with the 4.4 million that we expect to receive from TVA. One thing I did want to go over before we wrap up the treasurer's report is I wanted to go over our FEMA and what's going on with that. Our FEMA submission, we had a webinar last week that really just kind of just blew everything that we did out of the water. They primarily are going to focus on hospitals and physician healthcare providers and not schools. I've written a letter to the Kentucky Emergency Management, and I've written to both Senator McConnell and Rand Paul. Unfortunately, it really it feels like a lot of the work we did was for naught. They won't cover much of anything. So fortunately, we have the CARES Act funds that will cover the majority of everything we have that we've spent thus far. But now we really have to be very mindful of things that we purchased in the name of the COVID crisis. So just wanted to give you guys an update on that. We have not given up on FEMA, but that's something that we're now trying to pursue other avenues for that. So are there any questions?
Eric, do you know about how much is left on that construction at Bremen for the ball field?
I have not looked at it lately, but I know it was under 100,000 last time I looked.
Okay. I was by there the other day looking. It looked like it was fairly close, but you never know.
Really, I mean, like that $39,000 payment, that was to Westerfield Builders. Those are the folks that are doing it. So.
Right. Okay.
How much are we expecting to get from FEMA, Eric?
I wish I knew. I really wish I knew, Susan, because.
I mean, I don't know how much you were anticipating before this happened.
Well, I had submitted about 1.2 million and expected 75% of that. I submitted buses, and that was kind of a stretch, but we provided all the justification. We submitted the Chromebooks, and I think really what happened is that the majority of the districts in the state submitted for Chromebooks and throughout the country, and they saw that and really got frightened by it. So
Thank you.
And Melody just sent me something. Thank you, Melody. There's a balance of $70,530 on the Bremen Ballpark.
Okay.
Thank you, Melody.
All right. Thank you very much. Any further questions or discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bowers,
Second.
second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We'll go down to payment of bills and salaries. Mr. Bletzinger.
You again. The November board bills are this month. I bring you $165,740.70. Really, the majority of that is in fixed and mixed expenses and variable expenses. There was a payment to Insight Direct for $20,500. That was the most significant. I believe it was. Yeah, it's hardware. It's technology hardware.
All right. Any further discussion? Any questions on the bills and salaries? If not, I need a motion to approve payment of bills and salaries.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Bowers, and I'll second. Well, Ms. Wells will second. All in favor of paying bills and salaries, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. And we're down to public participation. Sherry, did we have anyone sign?
No one signed up.
Okay. I don't guess they like virtual meetings, huh? All right, so down to the administrative report, to the superintendent report, Mr. Davis.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Rager, board members. It has been quite an eventful 24 hours. So I'm going to try to unpack it for you guys and kind of before the dust settled. None of this, we don't need a vote on any of this, but I do want to just try to go through with the governor's orders, and KHSAA met yesterday as well. So, and we spent a lot of today trying to get some clarification on some things. Talked to Kathy Bethel some. We've talked to multiple superintendents, KESS, try to get hold of state people, Julian Tackett, just to get clarification, because, you know, one thing to note with the governor's orders in the past, at times he has met with superintendents ahead of time and kind of let us know what's coming so we can get clarification or whatever. This time that did not happen, so we were hearing it just as everyone else was hearing it. So I want to go through what came of some of that, and then we, you know, some other things. But first, winter sports is backed up to January 4th. So a start date in KHSAA, this was in agreement with the governor on this one. Again, no, whether that's archery, cheer, swim, basketball, January 4th will be the earliest they can go. And they were really trying to work on when it would end. It was about a 5-hour meeting with KHSAA, and I did not get that last part. I know when it's starting, not sure when it's going to end. Also, there will be no practices of any kind from until December 14th. And that was a little bit of a, KHSAA didn't originally, they were going to allow some practice, and then the governor, you know, kind of trumped that and said nothing until December 14th. So that's where we stand now, and that's fine. We can abide by that. Also in that order, high schools and middle schools will be virtual until January 4th, period. You know, again, this isn't a recommendation, this is a mandate. Now, we had already been down until at least December 7th. So this basically extended that 2 more weeks, then you get Christmas, and then you've got January 4th. Now, we can predict what it may look like. Excuse me? Was that one of you guys? Okay. I don't know what I heard there. I heard something. But that'll go to January 4th. Now, obviously, folks, after Thanksgiving and Christmas, we don't know where we'll be. So that could be backed up further, but that's the earliest middle and high school can go back. Elementary schools on this mandate, they'll be virtual to at least December 7th, which is already where we were. So the deal with that is they can come back, elementary only, K through 5, can come back if we're in Orange County by then, which means our daily incidence rate is 25 or lower. And so I'd like to leave that as an option. You know, I would love to be able to get those kids back in 10 weeks, but you know, that is 2 weeks from today or so that we need to be making that decision. And right now that looks unlikely, but again, since he left that open, I would like to, you know, leave that on the table, and, you know, we'll continue to look at it. Maybe we'll have a good turn here within the next week or so. But honestly, with Thanksgiving coming up and all that, it doesn't feel as hopeful as you'd like for it to be, but that is the order, that is the mandate, and that's where we are. We are going to go ahead, even though we could leave it open for the next 7 days, which is 2 weeks. Remember, we have 2 days next week and then 5 before the December 7th. We will close our daycares, and we're going to pretty much suspend any small group instruction until then. We can make some exceptions if absolutely needed to, but that's just absolutely minimized for 2 weeks anybody that's coming into our building from outside of our staff. Our staff will report like they are now. We'll be doing the same thing. We had to get some clarification on some orders there, but you know, a couple things come into mind there. We don't take that lightly, but let's just go through this. Are we more effective when we're at work? Well, you know, of course we are. Our focus is better. Distractions are fewer. You have access to resources that you be tougher at home. You're more accessible if we need you. If you have problems with tech, somebody's here to help you. Some jobs are almost impossible to do from home. They just are. So the first thing, are we more effective when we're here? Can we serve our kids better? As a rule, the answer is absolutely yes. So the second question is, can we do it safely? And you're always balancing the safety with effectiveness, the safety with serving your kids the best. That's always the case, whether you're in person or not. You're trying to determine that. Well, I think we can. Most of our folks our teachers in particular, can go to a room and be incredibly isolated. They have that opportunity. You basically can determine your risk level. If you want to stay in and do your thing in your room, you won't come in contact with anyone. Some jobs, it's a little tougher. Food service, you can't do that from home. They're a little closer, so you try to think through all those things. I do think it's a credit to our folks, and I think we need to really illustrate this. As far as we know, there hasn't been a single transmission of a COVID case to another kid or staff member in our school building. Now, I think that's quite a statement, and that includes when kids were there. That's all the way back till August or whenever we first started this. Certainly, we've had a lot of quarantines, absolutely. But as far as transmission, and we track these things, I don't think there's been a single one inside of our buildings, and there's a reason for that. We're doing things right. We're not perfect. But by and large, we're wearing our masks. We're staying 6 feet apart. We're doing the temperature checks. We're minimizing our time together. There's been a time or two we've had to talk about lunches. You want to get together a little bit, but we're doing better and better with everything. But we have really done well in our buildings. I think it's a very safe place to be. Kathy Bethel, talking to her today, she said if everyone would do like you guys are doing, we wouldn't be having the issues we're having. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of our folks for making that. I'm proud of our kids. And there's a lot of planning that needs to be. I need to give credit to a lot of folks, too many to name, for all the hours that has gone into having that chance. All the protocols in place, the personal protective equipment, all these things. It takes all of us to make that work. So, now we need to change that at some point. If we get another order from the governor that says, hey, I'm talking schools, get them out of there. Well, obviously we'll conform, do what we need to do. We'll always adjust as needed, but that's where we are now. And again, I think it's a huge credit to our folks that I can make the statement that I just did. And I will say this, talking to other superintendents, they're saying the same thing. And it's because school folks are doing things the right way, making that a safe working environment, making it safe for our kids. Now, that's something I bragged on. Let me tell you something I'm very, very concerned about as we move away from the COVID stuff, although it's COVID related here for a second. When I go around and I talk to teachers in particular, and I say, hey, what's stressing you the most? It's almost inevitable that I'm going to get this answer. I don't know what to do about the kids and the parents who just will not connect with us. We've sent people to the home. We have made multiple calls. We've tried reminds. We've tried everything we know, and we can't get them to engage. And so what's happened is we have a lot of kids, several kids with Fs, many of them multiple Fs, and we have tried to say over and over, guys, this is not like it was in the spring. We're not, I don't want to say you can fail, but that's what it amounts to. If you don't connect at all, if you will not even show up on a meeting, if you will not do anything ever, you're not moving on. And we need to message that. We need to hit that harder. I was hoping after grade cards went out and they saw some bad grades on there, that parents and kids both would say, whoa, this is real. In the spring, we worked with them. We really tried to bend over backwards to work with them. They didn't have Chromebooks. We didn't have connectivity. It was very new to everyone. That's different now. They can certainly connect with us. If we need to go paper packet, we'll do paper packet. We'll meet you wherever we need to meet you. But you got to walk through that door. And a lot of them are not. And so that's leading us to, where this is going to lead. But we need to, for parents to understand, we need them monitoring their kids. And if there's a problem, if we're short on our end, talk to us. We will do our best to make sure we'll do better if that's what you need from us. But I'm telling you folks now, I've texted you, I've talked to you. We're very worried about this. We're very concerned about this. And I am hearing this from every superintendent I talk to at every conference. This is likely the number one topic is what are we doing with so many kids? It's not the ones who can't, it's the ones who choose not to. And they choose not to do anything. Show up to any meeting with I'm guessing the assumption they'll move me on. Well, if we do that, we're not doing right by our kids. Can't move a first grade or second grade if they can't read.
That's exactly.
You can't move someone to algebra 2 from algebra 1 if they've not done anything in algebra 1.
That's right.
So I'm just telling you folks, that's where we're at, and we've got to do right by our kids, and it's, we're not perfect, and we need to do better on our ends, and I promise you we're trying. This is not about that. This is about the ones who are choosing to do nothing. And
Are the parents seeing grade cards and reports since all of this craziness has been going on?
I can let principals jump in on that. I'm not on that, I'm not dealing with it every day, but yes, they know this. They can do it with it. You can get on that parent portal and keep up. Stephanie was talking earlier today with me that she knows every time an assignment grade goes in on Clay. She's keeping up with that. And so
you can put it on your settings and monitor that. I mean, where you're notified every time a grade goes in, and I'm that parent.
Good for you.
And we've sent letters home. It's not a lack of effort, guys, or a lack of caring. Now, am I telling you that all of our teachers are absolutely perfect and we're nailing this every time? No, some are better than others. Some it's easier for than others. We're learning. We're working through this. But I'm telling you, it's a concern, and we're going to try to start messaging that more. Figure out a way to get that out there, not to anyone, not to embarrass anyone, to say, guys, you've got to try. This is school. I know it's not great. COVID stinks. We're tired of it too. But we need you to meet us somewhere. Just talk to us. Tell us what you need that you're not getting, because I think the vast majority of teachers will say, hey, if they're connecting with us and they're trying, we're going to make it happen. It's not the kids we're talking about.
Are you seeing that the kids who aren't connecting to the parent portal also have parents who have not connected in the past?
That would be a principal level question. If any principal wants to jump in and help answer that, that would be fine. That would be my assumption. Anybody? Are y'all going to hide behind letters? When they
I'll
go
talk
later,
about it. This is part of what we were going to get into about all of this, and I'll just kind of share some positives on this, and then I'll do my little part if that works for you right now, Robbie, or do you want me to wait?
No, perfect.
Okay.
Time. Go right ahead.
Mr. Davis can't say it thoroughly enough. The concerns that we have. Some good things that we can talk about are the kids that are participating are doing relatively well overall. We map tested all of our kids at the beginning of this year as most that we could get. We brought a lot of them in shifts and did some things in order to get them there. And honestly, as difficult and as challenging of a time as this is, we were not really expecting great results, but we were pleasantly surprised in the area of reading. Most of our kids are holding pretty steady in where we expected them to score in reading across the board. Where we are not seeing that is in math. And that is a real concern for us because historically we have not always done as well as we want to be doing in math here in Muhlenberg County. As our teachers are becoming more experts with the online learning platform, the kids that are engaging are really getting a much better experience. We talk to teachers and try to get a feel for how many kids are there and how many aren't. And we hear as many as 20 out of 24 kids in a class are showing up day after day on those meets, which is testimony to teachers and them engaging those kids in the first place and keeping on them to make sure that they stay with it. If you I can with pretty good assertiveness say kids that are going to show up and do what they need to do on the Google Meets and follow through with the classwork are going to be just fine as far as passing for the year. We know there's still going to be critical learning gaps, everyone. We cannot try to replicate what our teachers and schools do on a daily basis when we're there every day. And that is concerning as well, but that is not just our issue. That's an issue across the state and the nation too, which we are working to get ready to address. The kids that are getting in are getting a lot deeper conversations with teachers, sometimes because there are less kids, they are really learning how to interact in that platform without crossing each other over. But it is a challenge when a lot of times kids are an icon, just like we see here, and the teacher's trying to check to see if they've got the kids' attention. But overall, I can share good things about what's happening instructionally with the platform that we have right now. We are meeting, schools are meeting with amongst themselves, and I'm joining schools also to identify their lowest 20% of students right now based upon our MAP testing, prior year information, and other intervention information that we have to try to target those kids for additional interventions. We're providing them additional online platforms, Reading Plus, things to that effect, or putting them on a list of kids we need to contact. But just like Mr. Davis has said already, at the end of those meetings, we generally have a list of kids we're going to maybe pull out of a class here and there. The kids that are on that 20% list are the kids we're not getting in touch with, which makes it even harder. If we know they're the bottom 20% of the kids and we're trying to do extra for them, but we can't even get them to contact us to begin with, that is a major issue. I can share that our schools, teachers, FRC coordinators, principals are going to doors, knocking on doors, contacting kids 2 and 3 times a week and documenting that every single time, because we've had kids that have been attempted to contact 40 or 50 times easily, and that's across the district. But we're making sure that we're documenting all of that, because at the end of this year, we're going to have to do some tough decision making in the best interest of our kids. And those may not be decisions that everyone involved, being parents and students, are going to be really happy about. But we have a responsibility, as Mr. Davis said, to make sure that we are preparing our kids in order to be ready for the next level within the capacity that we have. Now, we can't hold back 2,000 kids, but we certainly need to take a look at the most critical needs of our biggest gap kids and have real conversations about what we're going to do about that, especially at the lower levels. So what we're doing now is we're planning for credit recovery at a much higher level than we've ever seen before at our high school level and even at the middle school level. We are having conversations with principals about taking kids out of elective classes. If we're to that point, and doubling them up, if you will, in math and reading with the same type of software that the district uses for credit recovery for the kids in the MOVE program. Like Mr. Davis said, we are going to try absolutely everything that we know we can do in order to meet the needs of our kids. And if they will just engage with us, we can make that happen. Now, this is an issue across the state. I've already said that. Mr. Davis connects with superintendents daily. I have a meeting with the KSA Board of Directors tomorrow virtually. This is on that topic as well. But the hard part is we cannot plan for any of this because we don't know how far this is going to go. Will we have kids back in school in a month? We don't know. 2 months? We don't know. And until we can get to that point of knowing what tomorrow really looks like, we will just keep planning and working and focusing on trying to get with our kids and trying to support us all at the same time. It's very difficult. It is very hard on educators who put everything they have into the needs of students, and they see and value the importance of education and learning, to be giving more than they've ever given and seeing, honestly, less results for it. But we have good leadership. We will stay focused. We know that you are with us. And part of what Mr. Davis wanted me to talk about tonight was the good things. And also, like he's sharing with you and has been communicating with you, that we as a district are going to need to be on the same page when it comes to that time when it does come for us to start having conversations about having kids repeat another year or what we're going to do for them for credit recovery. Mr. Davis, is there anything else you wanted me to talk about on that?
No, I'll just follow up. And again, thank you, Matt. We don't want to paint doom and gloom
No.
because there are a lot of great stories and a lot of funny stories and kid stories, and we do deal with that all the time too. But we want to be honest with you about this, and I had a teacher the other day, he said that more than ever, there's a gap like A's and B's, kids who are trying and they're working with them, and F's. And it's like, it's not that, you know, bell curve kind of thing. They're seeing so much of that. And it's so difficult and stressful on these teachers. You know, I try to talk about all of our staff because they all have their issues that's so difficult. But right now we're talking about grades as teachers. And I think I commend them, honestly, as I talk to them and get through and just listen to them and say, what stresses you the most? You know, they're stressed with the safety, you know, they're stressed with a lot of other things, but it's this over and over and over and over that I hear. And, you know, they're blaming themselves. And again, we're not perfect. Any parent watching this say, well, I understand that. We're not perfect. But we just want you to connect with us and try. And we are going to get you the rest of the way. That's pretty much it. I will tell you that I reached out to Alyssa Manning yesterday. No promises there. I'm not trying to put them on the spot, but you need to know possibility of summer school next year. We haven't had summer school in forever, and it's expensive. And likely, as I talk to principals, like, yeah, absolutely, we may need it at each school for a few weeks, but only if we're able to go in person then, which I'm certainly hopeful for. But that would be a credit recovery thing. But, you know, I told Alyssa, hey, be thinking, would it be possible if we needed some transportation help and some salary help for all our folks that would be working that, would that be feasible or reasonable? Because that is something, trying to think ahead. What about the ones who have tried or, you know, and they're still a little short? I'd like to have something meaningful that's remedial that would get them, not a punitive thing, strictly, hey, we need to catch you up, get you ready for Algebra 2, get you ready for second grade. For some kids, that may not even be helpful. But for a lot of kids, I think that would. So I've opened those conversations, and we'll just kind of see where that goes. So again, that's not as positive as I'd like, but I wanted to talk instruction. I want to talk more than just COVID stuff, because in the midst of all this, we are trying to teach kids. And it is a difficult thing to do. You know, many kids are trying hard, and they're stressed too. The ones who are engaged, they're like, you know, it's not what they're used to. So God bless our kids that are absolutely giving it all, and thanks to each and every parent who is engaged, and they are checking that parent portal and pushing their kid. And parents, I had 2 boys as well. Don't take your kids' word for it. They may not be caught up. Double check. That's what kids do. That's probably what I would have done as a kid. So take a look at that and make sure, and contact that teacher. And if you have trouble with that, you know, contact the principal and then contact us. We're going to try to help you make that connection. I can promise you that. Really quickly, before I get into some good news reports from principals, even though it takes a minute, it's worth our time. I want Melody and Julie to go through just a little bit about how quarantines and positives, how many we have now, how that process works, because I think that's important for you guys to know, and our folks as well that may be listening. So Melody, if you're on there, would you talk about, because I know you're on the staff end, Julie's more on the kid end, would you talk a minute or two about that?
Sure. And I'll try to answer any questions you guys have if possible, if needed. Basically, I tried to update it as of today. We have 2 actively positive staff members, and we have a total of 27 other staff members in quarantine. And I want to kind of explain a little bit about when you see quarantine numbers. You all know that, or I think you're aware that we have to report on a daily report on the dashboard for the state, our new positives and our new quarantines for that day only. So I want to go through, and I've got some things written down, but I want to go through some things that may be confusing when you see those numbers, or when the general public sees those numbers. So basically, what I gave you, the number that I gave you, the 27 quarantine and the 2 positive, the quarantine numbers that I gave you include the following people in our district. They will be those who have been contacted by the health department or contact tracers. There'll be those who know they have been in contact with a positive person and they're awaiting contact tracing. Or they could be those who are experiencing symptoms, they're getting tested, or they have been tested and they're waiting for their results. So you may see on a dashboard on a certain day, we may only report 3 people quarantined new for that day. There may be many others that are quarantined, but they just haven't been officially notified that they are in quarantine. So that's where that discrepancy comes in there. So I will tell you a little bit about the reporting mechanism that we use, the dashboard that the governor has on his page that can be looked up by anyone. The reasons for this discrepancy that you may see also would be only that the staff members that are located in school buildings are counted. The numbers do not include the quarantining staff members in our maintenance department, our transportation department, or our central office. So let's say that we had a major issue with one of our departments there. We may have several more in quarantine than you would see reported, because we only report those people who are in the school buildings themselves. And it only includes those as of now, and that could be changing in the little, and Julie may touch on this in a little bit, but it only currently includes those who have been officially contacted by the health department or contact tracers with definitive quarantine orders. And we do know that the governor spoke yesterday saying that our health departments are becoming overwhelmed, and there is a possibility that in the future it may be up to a person who tests positive to do their own contact tracing and notify their close contacts themselves, and not going through our health departments because they're becoming overrun. So this could change a little bit in the way that we report, but that's what we do right now. So when, you may only hear that we only have 4 people quarantined in our district, that may be new quarantines for that day. It may not be all those that are awaiting contact tracing or awaiting test results. And I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Melody. And I think it should be noted that that's 2 out of about 700 staff members I think we have, 2 positive. So obviously folks are doing some things right here and away from here. And so but it's the quarantines that actually get us, that cause us to have trouble to run, because, possibly one positive could lead to 30 to 40 quarantines potentially. I'm going to bring in Julie now to talk about the student end of that.
Okay. I'm going to leave my camera off if that's okay. When I turn it on, it starts to sputter on my end, so I can't see you or hear you. But as of tonight, we have 8 positive students who have active cases right now. I will say that to our knowledge, we have none of these cases are connected, and none of these cases came from school. So I don't want to leave that part out, because I think that's very important. We have between 105 and 110 students quarantining as of right now. And we did receive our first email today from a school nurse who had spoken to a family where the health department instructed, and I'm not even sure if it was our local office or could have been a regional office, instructed them to contact their close contacts. So that was the first time that I've known for sure that we probably won't get a contact from the health department, but from the family themselves. So I urge you all, to anybody that you know, anyone that has kiddos in the school, if you have friends or family who test positive or who are quarantining, please encourage them to call into their school or call into the board. That phone number, we'll go straight to Sherry here at the office, and then we'll be able to track people who are quarantining, because we truly are relying on the word of our community and the word of our staff and our students. And without that open communication, then the system that we have built won't work as it should. So please talk to people, spread the word, to have them not be scared to call in. It's not something to be afraid or ashamed about. It's something that we need to do, is to communicate and keep those lines open so that we can keep everyone safe. But like I said, 8 students and about 105 to 110 quarantining students.
Mr. Davis, I will also add too, and Julie, I apologize if you said this, but just because we are virtually, doing NTI virtually right now, we still report just as we always have. So we are still relying on parents to call in with those quarantining family members or positive family members, as well as our staff. We're still doing the reports on the daily dashboard, even though we are virtual.
And what you're likely to see is that the positives won't necessarily go down, because there's quite a school of thought out there that kids are more likely, at least as likely, if not more likely, to contract COVID away from the school, because school is a controlled environment and they follow the rules. And when they're at home, they don't always do that, and they go to different places. So anyway, I wanted y'all to hear that from them. They deal with that seemingly 24/7. It is 24/7, and that's kind of how that process works. So if you guys get questions about that, that's what's up with that. So thank you, ladies. Now I want to move on to our principal reports, and I've told them to take this one or the next one off, and either they can be on this one or they could have someone they could designate as we kind of develop some leadership with other folks. So I'll go down through, and we have some principals here, and in some cases we have some fill-ins to tell you some good things going on, because I promise you there's some good things going on. So let's start with Mr. Sharp from Bremen.
Hello, everybody.
I'm sorry, Lori. Didn't know it was you. Hey, Lori.
Hello. Now that you have told on Mr. Sharp, I know that he didn't have anything else pressing or important. It was just my turn. First of all, I wanted to say thank you and brag on the cafeteria staff at Bremen. It was a wonderful meal today. It was nice. And somehow they managed to have fancy little beautiful Thanksgiving napkins. And that was such a nice little touch. Couple of things that I have listed to talk about is even though to get the students to do their work, you've already talked about that, is very challenging. The environment is different for these students who have to do it at home. However, we still have that tradition of excellence at our school, and we're trying to do everything we can to encourage that again. We had 70 students from 4th and 5th grade who made the A or the AD honor roll, so we were glad to be able to brag on them for that. In our Family Resource Center, we have 105 angels that were needed to be adopted for Christmas, and that's a greater need than we know of ever having. However, all of those needs are met. So our community has definitely stepped up, and I appreciate that so much. And we are very proud of them for helping us in the village that we have down there to raise those kids. Also, we had a virtual Veterans Day program, and that was very successful. Even though it was virtual, we had over 80 parents / students who actually joined in on the live Google Meet. So that was successful, and we were glad for that. And we're working on culture with our staff as much as we can. We've got a few things in the mix that we're going to try to do. With all of the limits that we have, it makes it even more challenging, but we are doing what we can to boost the culture of the staff and hang in there. And I'm so proud of them for countless hours that they're putting in. I know they're overwhelmed. Our teachers are doing all they can and beyond, really working hard, and we appreciate them. Awesome things are going on at Bremen. I would invite you guys to come and visit, but not the time to do that, is it? That's all I have. If you guys have questions, I'll try to answer. But I appreciate you guys, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Lori. I may have you start doing grants from now on. We'll just make him come, but you do the report. You can pre-record it if you like.
Hear, hear. I vote for that too.
A lot better looking than you.
Is here for
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, though, Lori. Leah Renfro, are you with us for Central City?
I'm here. Thank you all so much for having us, or having me. I'm excited to be here. Mr. Blake's birthday is coming up, so he decided to take the day. And so we have had some great participation in our Halloween virtual parade and flip grid. I want to thank our specials teachers. They have really been the behind the scenes to execute that. And we even had a little competition and a costume contest. So that was really fun. I know you all probably are on the edge of your seats for the mock election results. The ballots did come in a little slowly because of the AB schedule, but every child did get a chance to vote. And I was not surprised. There were no recounts that were demanded, thank goodness. But it was a tight race, and Airheads won the favorite candy. So all students that were in person received an Airhead, and then also a reminder of the importance of voting and encouraging their parents to get out and vote. That's something that we did not want to miss. If you have not had a chance to follow us on Facebook, we're averaging about 10,000 engagements monthly for the Central City Facebook, which I think is an excellent thing considering our community is a little smaller. But we're constantly trying to share positive things out there. So I definitely would recommend you do that. And I'm hoping that Mr. Blake isn't watching, because since it is his birthday, we're all dressing up like him tomorrow. So I'm sure there will be lots of good Facebook pictures for that. I'm trying to find a wig. It's been a little difficult though. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Leah. 50 is a special number. I've been there, so I understand. So good luck.
I'll
Good
make
luck
sure
on
to
that.
let him know that you said that for sure.
Fair enough. Jimmy Browning from Greenville.
Thank you, sir. I'll give a quick report on Miss Jones. She is doing great, and baby Marley Grace is, according to her, just precious. And she said if she would sleep at night, she would be more than precious. So they were doing great, and I talk to her each week. Everything is going well at Greenville. We've identified 73 students for our RTI program, and we also have identified several students that we would qualify for extra help. And those are the students that Mr. Davis, Mr. Perkins talked about that are hard to reach, having trouble to get in contact with. So we've got another person working with them and just trying to get them to where they need to be. During the virtual days on Wednesdays and this week, our teachers have put forth great effort bringing in individual students, small groups of students. Of course, according to the governor, what he has told us, that sort of ends today. But just wanted to give a shout out to our staff, going the extra mile to get those students in and doing what we can, putting forth the effort that our school needs to support families and students. Hey, we all had the Thanksgiving meal today, and it was wonderful. Our cafeteria staff did an outstanding job. It was great. Had a lot of smiles, had a great time. Social distancing and with mask on, but anyway, we made the best of it. We've got Greenville Elementary decorated with Christmas. I went to unplug a Christmas tree the other evening when I was leaving, and the custodial staff came by and said, "Mr. Brandon, can you leave that on?" I said, "Sure." They said we enjoy watching it while we work. Beth Mohan and Sally Washburn, they have done great service for our school as far as going on home visits. Common theme throughout the district that we're having trouble reaching families, and they have taken it upon themselves to do that. Teachers have went along with them, just trying to reach out to families. We had 2 virtual Veterans Day celebrations, one for A and one for the B group. Staff and students took part in developing a video celebrating the veterans and their families, and we shared that with school. Family Resource provided snacks, and so we celebrated our veterans in that fashion. Thank you for your time, and as always, it's great to be a Blackhawk. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy's doing a great job filling in there as Stacy takes just a minute or two off. And Jimmy, I know this because Melody tells me that every day. You can talk to me about that tomorrow, Melody. Grayson, are you here from South Elementary? Mr. Wells, or we'll come back there, not sure. Let's go to, I think JoJo Jarvis is here from Longest. JoJo, how's it going?
Hello, Mr. Davis, Chairperson Rager, board members and guests. It's good to be here tonight. Mr. Hardison has a family engagement, and Miss Armour had a late doctor appointment. And just to follow up with some things there, she's doing well, though. We're definitely glad to have her back. Some fun things going on this past month at Longest Elementary. We've had our Halloween parade, 3 different days of students coming in and participating, getting to share their costumes and excitement. And they were able to take a picture in front of the Halloween backdrop and receive some items, some different Halloween activities and treats, just a fun time to get together, distance of course. Our 5th grade team and students are planning for a wax museum event coming up in December. Ms. Armour and our family resource coordinator, Ms. Donna Gill, filmed today an activity to share with families and students of making a Thanksgiving turkey treat. And they'll be sharing that, I'm sure, on our Facebook page. And Ms. Donna has agreed to supply families with items to help put that together. Some of our staff members are participated in is a maintain and don't gain during the holiday season. And so those that wanted to pitched in $10. And if you don't gain weight between now and January, you get to share the pot. So that should be interesting. Hopefully I'll be on the good side of that. Also, like everybody else, just a big shout out to our lunchroom staff. They work very hard every day with compiling the bags of food for our students. And today they put together a great lunch, a Thanksgiving meal for us today. And so we're thankful for that, and also to board members for providing that to us.
Thank you, JoJo. And I can't say enough that the meal that they provided today was amazing. And the kids were supposed to get it this week too. So there's a lot frozen somewhere. Maybe we can get it every Thursday till they come back. I don't know, but it was absolutely amazing. So appreciate Joe and all those folks that made that happen. Now I think we have D. Kelly Melton here for Renaissance.
Hello, how are you doing?
How's it going, Miss Melton?
It's going great. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you all tonight. Our current enrollment at the Renaissance Center is 20 students, and the MOVE program currently has 25 students. And we've been very pleased with our communication with our students. About 75% of our students are communicating well with our teachers and are working successfully toward completing their fall semester. And we think that's really good for our numbers. Most of our students completed the MAPS test. They worked very hard, and we saw several gains from last year, which was a little surprising to me based on what we've been dealing with, but definitely a positive that we want to celebrate. And we've had great parent support during this pandemic. They've been very supportive of the Renaissance Center and how things were handled. Some of our students just don't work well online, but they do very well working with packets. So we have been flexible with those students, and some are working with packets and others are using online learning. We're trying to meet their needs during this time, and the parents have been very thankful for that. That's pretty much all we have.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for filling in tonight. Mr. Lyle, are you here from South Middle?
I am here. Just a few things that we have going on at South Middle. About 4 weeks ago, we started our Success School. For those students who just needed extra assistance, maybe had some questions on assignments or needed help with their Google Classroom, whatever the case may be. We've had upwards of 11 that have come, and we weren't really too worried about what number, having a large number, because any of them that came received the benefit of that. So we are very thankful for those that came, and that's been successful. Obviously, like Mr. Browning mentioned, that's put on halt for now until we move forward. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Troy Stovall, Joel Watson, and Jill Page, are members of our 8th grade bands, all three, North Middle, the high school, and then South Middle band, participated in a master class with members of the United States Air Force Band, which is based in Washington, D.C. So that was a very big deal for our students. The master class, like I said, was joined with all three schools, and students were able to have breakout sessions with members of the United States Air Force Band and whatever instrument they play. And so they got a lot of one-on-one from some great talent. So that was very, very neat. Again, appreciate Troy for making that happen. And like everyone else, big shout out to our lunchroom ladies and to the board for the lunch today. Most of my lunchroom ladies did a great job. I won't mention any names. Thank you.
You're going to pay for that one, sir. Jerry Rager, North Middle.
So, just want to kind of go over some of the October activities. We had a student and staff pumpkin decorating contest. We had a student and staff costume contest. And Mr. Devine and I wore the costumes from the movie Dumb and Dumber. And Mr. Davis said that our costumes just reassured him on what he already knew. We've had some new projectors installed in the cafeteria, so students, when they're in person, they can watch some movies during lunch because there's not a lot of socializing going on because of being so far apart. And like everybody else, we had a wonderful Thanksgiving meal today. So special thanks to Ms. Cooper, Ms. Stovall, cafeteria staff, and the board for doing that for us today. It was so good that I actually purchased meals and brought home. So it was my turn to cook. So that's what we had tonight. So as far as that goes, November activities, we've tried to do several things as far as with the staff. We did a cookout. Mr. Devine, Mr. Mefford, and I grilled burgers and hot dogs. And yes, we practiced social distancing while we did that. I spent last week trying to get in a lot of observations, and one thing that I was amazed was how all the teachers are taking care of our kids in person and virtual at the same time. Just amazed by it. So I can't say enough about what I saw on the evaluations in person. And then this week I went ahead and did a few virtual, and I finally got a good view of what the students see from the virtual links, and was very impressed. I mean, I know that virtual lessons, you can't replace the in-person, but you know what? They were coming awfully close. And so I'm very proud of what I did see on some of these virtual lessons. So I'm very proud of my teachers there. Parent contacts, I've been sending letters home. I've sent 2 letters home already to parents with kids that are showing lack of progress. We've made phone calls. Mr. Devine and I have made several home visits. And so many people have pit bulls, by the way. We're still going to continue with our ESS virtual learning. We have online Google Meet from 5 to 8, Monday through Thursdays. We were going to start our Star Wednesdays from 10 to 12 to bring students in, which of course we're not going to be able to do that. So we will start that just as soon as we can to try to get these kids back in the building, give them an opportunity. And we had the Auntie Anne's pretzel truck yesterday, had a visit at North Middle. And special thanks to Mr. Joe Hart for making that happen, and had a donation to the Beta Club. So I just want to say thank you for that. And that's
Jerry,
all that's going on in North Middle.
Whenever you get just right, it looks like you have a halo. But that seems
thank
really
you, Mr.
to me.
Well, I have a halo all the time, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, I need that. Somebody would not like it if I had it, if it was on Facebook. At high school, I think Ken Carver is filling in for Donna tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Davis. Just like everyone else, our Thanksgiving meal today was amazing as always. So a shout out to Miss Darlene Mefford and Miss Joe Cooper, both kitchen staffs at East and West Campus for preparing it. And thanks again to Mr. Davis and the board members for supporting that as well. Online with that, our kitchen staffs at both campuses received 100s on their recent health inspections. And shout out to our custodians. Our buildings as a whole received 100s on health inspections. So always important, but especially during these times, it's the utmost importance. So shout out to our kitchen staffs and our custodians at both campuses. Along with Mr. Rager, I've been able to get in and do some evaluations, and our teachers just continue to amaze me at what they're able to do, what they're able to accomplish, virtually. Also, when we had the students in person, just to be honest with you, they're kind of my superheroes right now. So, plus I live with one at home, so I need to get that in there. But honestly, they're doing an amazing job, and really appreciate what they're able to do. As far as our kids go, Isaac Rose signed his letter of intent yesterday to play college baseball at Kentucky Wesleyan. So we're excited for Isaac. And also a big shout out to our drama students, Miss Melanie Smith, and all of those, excuse me, all of those who helped with the production of Clue. Did an amazing job. It doesn't matter what they're doing, what play that I go to and see, I always leave amazed at the talent that we have in our students here in Muhlenberg County. And they just did an outstanding job. Hopefully they'll get to perform that at some point, you know, for others to see, because they deserve that, and shout out to them.
Thank you, Ken. I'm glad you brought that up. I was able to be one of maybe 8 or 10 of us there. Some of the admin stayed around, and a couple of staff members to watch them and to play Clue. Of course, we had to cancel it to the public. Wow. I don't have a lot of talent that way. There's not much I can do there, but I can sure appreciate hard work, and I can sure appreciate what they did. That was absolutely, the level of that was incredible. And so Melanie and TJ and Sean made that happen, and those kids, hopefully we can open that up for the public and certainly their parents at some point, because it was incredible. We do have some Chromebooks coming in. Chad sent something out today that I think the first week of December we'll be getting some of those Chromebooks that K-2 teachers have still not received. They're supposed to get in September, then October, and now November. And so hopefully that's going to happen very soon. And I will say that we're still battling the facilities folks, KDE, Scott Knoll, trying to get that going. Turn Eric onto that. He's kind of bulldogging that. And so we're still working hard to try to make something potentially happen next year. But obviously, the longer this goes on, the harder it is. So that's the extended superintendent report. I knew it would be quite a doozy tonight, but just some things I wanted to get in. And so, Chairman Rager, board members, finally, that does conclude my report, barring any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for anyone? Okay, and we'll just make a note. The personnel actions are given to us, and the report will be placed in the minutes, and we've all had a chance to review those as well. So we'll go on down now at this time to the board action. The attendance and enrollment report. Sorry, Mr. Freeman, I tried to forget you.
That's quite all right, Chairman Rager. Good evening, everyone. Just real quickly, want to go over the attendance report for month 3, October 14th through November the 11th. We currently are on that date. We had 4,346 students, which was down 116 students this time last year. It was up 8 students from our second month, and down 53 students from the last day of school last year. The enrollment numbers today, the 19th, 4,367, which is up 21 from where we were on November the 11th. So I just wanted to share that with you. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be moving on to our board action items, and item A on our agenda is to consider our annual financial audit for the fiscal year 20. Mr. Bletzinger.
Thank you, Chairman Rager. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Laney White, CRA, CPAs. He is one of the partner CPAs with that firm, and I'm going to have part of the audit up while he goes over this, okay?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, good evening, Chairman Rager and board members and Superintendent Davis. We'll try to do this in a most equitable, fashionable way to get through this. We have met with a couple of board members already, and the management team there at the district. So had a good meeting there and went in detail. So tonight will be more of a summary review. And I guess, Eric, are you going to try to pull up the pages?
Yep, they're on.
They're on, okay. So page 1, we'll see this. This is the actual letter which we provide to the district, And it's called the auditor's opinion letter. And you can see it's divided in several segments to kind of
Eric,
what
I'm not seeing this. I'm sorry, Lanny. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'm sharing.
Just me.
Let me try. Hold on a second. I apologize.
Sorry to interrupt, Lanny.
Oh, you're fine.
How about now?
There we go.
Okay. Can you all see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Laney. Sorry about that.
No problem. We'll rewind here a little bit. And this is the letter that we provide and sends to the school district, which provides the opinion on the financial statements. This is what the outside users would want to see from that standpoint. It's broken into different paragraphs. The first paragraph describes the report. Second paragraph describes kind of your responsibility as management. The third there you'll see is what our responsibility is. And of course, the school district is a governmental entity, so therefore it is audited under government auditing standards, which is a higher threshold of reporting. And also in the back, you'll see there's a letter in here for controls and for compliance with laws and regulations. So page 2, Eric.
All right.
Looking good. And so on the page 2 here, you'll see we'll slide down and see the word opinions. That's what we opine upon, these financial statements. You receive what's called an unmodified report, which is commonly known as a clean opinion. So as far as any user or reliance on the financial statements, they're fairly stated in all material respects. So a good report for a use of an audit financial statements. The other paragraphs on below there's a thing called required supplementary information. There's things in here required just by the standards, and one is called the management discussion analysis. That's the MD&A for the acronym. And Superintendent Davis and Eric goes through and prepares this, and it gives a perspective really of the financial statements from management standpoint. And so it kind of gives a reader a better understanding of the district, kind of where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. So it's a good piece of a document to read. It definitely, and that's why it is placed in front of the document, so a reader can get an understanding of the district first before we're going into the audit report. The other information in the back, there's a lot of schedules in the back and various things in there. We've looked at those schedules, and as it compares to the audit as a whole, they are in agreement. And on page 3, we go wind up here, and this is the final paragraph on the mention of government auditing standards. We'll see the letter in the back for the controls and for laws and regulations that are direct and material to the financial statements. Any questions on the letter? Okay, we're going to jump over to page 12 of the report. And this starts the actual financial statements. And if you try to, again, remember from the prior year, we tried to went through the presentation, you know, there's 2 sets of financial statements within this document. The first one really breaks down what's called like a government-wide or a district-wide financial statement. It puts all your assets, all your liabilities. It's more of a business model presentation that goes through and shows on full accrual of all your activity from this standpoint. And so this statement of net position will go through at the top. You can see the assets. This will include like all your campus activity and AR, accounts receivable, and various aspects. So you'll see total assets there for $106,307,318. Last year was $108 million. The reason it dropped some this year, there's a depreciation of $3.2 million each year that's approximately being charged to the actual operations for this presentation. So that's why, and since depreciation is a non-cash, did reduce that activity. And you'll see the 2 columns, the government activities and the business type activities. Really, the business type activities primarily is going to be your school food program. Everything else will be in the governmental activities. The school food this year was up to $981,000 in assets versus $583,000 last year. And we'll see more in their detailed statements that they had a very good year this year from the operational standpoint. Sliding on down the report here, there's deferred outflows. These are items that relate primarily to the pension and the OPEB, the other post-employment benefits, the health insurance. And this is numbers that are given to us primarily from the actuary study. So it's 9.2 this year, it was 8.1 million last year. The liabilities, this shows all of your liabilities of your normal accounts payable, your compensating absences for your sick leave, your debt, the pension liability, and the OPEB liability. So you can see here on the far right, coming down to the total, $73,344,000. That's your total liabilities overall for the district. Last year it was $75.4 million, a drop of about $2.1 million. And the main reduction of that is by your debt service, by you're paying your principal down on your debt, so therefore debt has gone down in the current year. Any questions on this page? If not, then we'll flip to the next page, 13. This gives the over to the net position numbers. And this is your equity. This is what's really important on this statement to see how it falls out. You're showing, again, a positive equity at $40,375,000. So again, a good number, a positive. If all that number is positive, that's a good sign. When it goes negative, that's a concern. Like you'll see over on the business activities, it went negative primarily because of the pension and the OPEB liability. If you pull those numbers out, it does go positive. So that does kind of lessen some of the risk because we know what drives those numbers primarily is from an actuarial study. So total position last year about 38 million, about the same rate as this year, not a big change. So again, pretty flat for the year. Any questions on this statement? I mean, this one's usually seen once a year, and that's kind of right now is when it's done is in the audit presentation. Okay, we'll flip to the next statement, and this is going to be coming through the government activities sense to where it's the full accrual still on the operational side. To the far left, you'll see all the cost for the functions to run the school district. Now again, this will include the depreciation of like $3 million. It includes a higher number for the pension, the OPEB costs in here. So there's a lot of things in here that are not cash driven. So going into 59 million and sliding across in the middle there are items for grants and things that are earmarked for certain cost. And they're used to help offset that cost. To the far right shows the net cost left through 2 cents to be funded. Down below the business activities is going to be your school food. Same way, if you slide across, you'll see to the far right, they're showing a positive 250. Again, that's from their operations. So if we slip on over to page 15, that's going to come around to where it's going to show, again, the governmental activities showing the general funds and revenues coming through for this general activities. You can see there that's about $51 million. So that's what you use to help offset those negative costs, coming up with a net change about $210,000. So again, about a break even, as we noted on the numbers on the previous page. On the business type though, this year you had a $202,000 positive number, where in the prior year it was a $671,000 loss. So again, a big swing for the school food activity from that standpoint, and we'll see in the back again more on that program. So any questions on this? This is again a one-time-a-year presentation, but kind of the big thing is you know you are covering your cost of depreciation primarily, your break even. So that's again a good sign still on these numbers. Nothing shown here of a negative trend or nothing that would alarm anyone from that nature. If no questions, we'll go to page 16. This now becomes the fund statements. These are the ones you're used to seeing every month whenever it comes through and reports to you all. And it gives you, again, your activities. This is where your funds come through for your, again, primarily a modified cash basis. And again, it's more of just a current reporting for a budget year cycle. You'll see here the total assets, the general fund, 21.3 million, 19.4 last year. Cash was up from 11.8 million versus 8.5 last year. Construction fund has had a pretty big change. It's down to $376,000 this year versus 8.2 million last year. There were some bond proceeds last year that was carried over this year. You'll see that money was spent out on outgoing projects going on into the 20 fiscal year. So total assets, 22.3 million approximately versus 28 million in the prior year. Any questions on that page? Again, good increases. Page 17 is going to be the other side of the balance sheet. It's going to be the liabilities and the fund balance. Again, on the liability side, accounts payable is up some this year a little bit for the general fund. You had a large purchase near the year for some Chromebooks that came through. It kind of drove up the number for the payment of those Chromebooks. You'll see over on the construction fund, only 64,000 this year. Last year it had $1.2 million in there, again, going through to cover some of the activity from the construction projects. Now, when you slide down to the fund balances, this is going to be the equity side. This is the part that carries over that helps fund future activities. And you can see this year, you have $20.5 million left over in the general fund. That's going to be about a $1.3 million increase from the prior year. So again, a good increase from that standpoint. Last year had $19.2 million primarily. You can see your categories here, your fund balance. The restricted money primarily is for the library for Greenville. Committed primarily is for sick leave and construction projects. Assigned primarily is for site-based and the district activity funds. Any questions on these funds? If not, then we'll flip over to the operating statements, which will be on page 19. And this shows, again, the major funds as general, special revenue, construction funds. Then all the others, again, are lumped together into one fund. On the revenue side, you'll see $48 million this year coming through for the general fund. Last year was $48.7 million. So it's about a $634,000 decrease overall in revenues for the general fund the current year. Some of the biggest changes there is going to be franchise tax dropped about $976,000. Revenue and lieu taxes actually went up about $600,000. So that's the biggest change is causing the $600,000 change overall. On the other funds, special revenue funds were comparable to prior year, and so was all the other governmental funds comparable. Now, if we're moving down to expenses, you can see here the biggest change in here on the first page of 19 is going to be instructional staff. It's up about $675,000. That's being driven primarily from the Chromebooks, about $548,000 worth of charges in that category. I'm going to page 20. We'll carry over with expenses, carrying on over for the totals, $46.3 million for the general fund. That's about a $1,084,000 increase from the prior year. There was, again, several increases across most expense areas. No certain one had a larger number than the one I already explained, but did have increases across the board pretty much in all categories. Now, a key category here is to watch for is this number. You see excess, deficiency, and revenues or expenditures. You're showing $1,765,070. That's a very good excess of a return in a sense from the general fund. Last year, in a sense, you had close to about $3.4 million. But primarily this year, your expenses increased with revenues dropping about $600,000, causing the change. But still, that's a very good, return from that standpoint, because you always making sure the general fund can cover its costs with its revenue base, and it did that by a good means here. Other sources of uses is money to go in and out of the funds. This year, you only had $400,000 going out. Last year, you had $3.1 million going out for construction projects. So that kind of drains some of the general fund money last year, which did not occur this year. So the net change, the fund balance, we already noted about $1.3 million. Last year, about $377,000. So a big difference from that standpoint from an operation wise. Again, kind of note in the past, we talk about your fund balance here too, and about your safety and soundness pretty much on your balance going forward. If you break down your expenditures and back out what's called on behalf non-cash activity, you're running about, in a sense, 5.5 months based on your unassigned fund balance, and about 7 months, including your committed and your unassigned fund balance. So, again, very strong from that standpoint. Again, just a rule of thumb, if you're running a 1 month average, you're probably at the floor where I would want to be, and a 3 month average is kind of going to be more in the upper norm. So again, with your unassigned, you're at 5.5 months. So again, you're looking healthy from that standpoint. We know we have some issues facing you coming through, a lot of things now with operations and various things with TVA still going on. It could kind of fall out. So that does give you a little bit of a comfort level to carry on a few things in case some downturns do come about to help offset some costs from that standpoint. Any questions on page 20? Okay, then we'll go over to page 22. As I've already kind of mentioned earlier, this is on the proprietary funds, the school food. Again, assets this year are up to $736,000 versus $321 the prior year. And daycare actually went up to $87,000 versus $65,000. Debt went up to 3.9 versus 3.4. The increase primarily, again, is to the pension and the OPEB liability. Those costs, again, are actuarial driven and booked each year. Page 23 carries over to your equity. And again, last year you were at 25 and negative 2.5 million. This year about 2.4. So not a real big swing. And again, the negative numbers are being caused by the pension and the OPEB activity, that liability. If you were to pull those out, you would be a positive number. Page 24 is the operating statement. And again, as we mentioned earlier with the board, we met with the management team and the board members. COVID's brought a lot of bad things this year, but for the school of food, it did have a blessing in the sense that it has helped operations from that standpoint. The numbers were a little down in the prior year, and there's kind of been an improvement from this year based on the activity. Of course, the operating revenues, the lunchroom sales were down because of COVID hitting in March, and so the in-person, again, was no longer there for the last quarter of the year, dropping those numbers down. The operating costs were actually up about $100,000 for the year from that standpoint. Now, the big thing that changed was the non-operating revenues, the federal grants. Last year, you had about $2.2 million. This year, about $3.1 million, about a $900,000 swing in your federal grants. And that has had a very positive impact on the balances for the school of food. You can see this year you finished in cents with a net change, a positive of $250K. Last year you had a loss of $560,000. So again, much improved. And just a few statistics on the lunchroom program this year. Lunches actually increased 56,000, about a 9.8% increase. Breakfast increased 167,000 meals for breakfast this year, a 60% increase. So again, these numbers was helped along with the improved reimbursement rates by having summer feeding rates versus normal rates, helped to increase the overall financial position of the school lunch program. And now we were talking about the month's coverage of expenses. Right now you get up to about 2.3, well, 2.3 months coverage, almost 3 months coverage for the school of food. So it's definitely made some ground back now to be more on a solid standing to take care of its own activities because of the increased monies from the federal programs. Eric, we'll slide on through on over to page 27. The cash flow statement showed a positive trend too from that standpoint. Page 27 is just the activity funds. This shows again that the balance is there. You can see you actually had cash increase $860K versus $791K from the prior year. So again, monies did increase from the schools. Probably a lot of times less chance to fund activities and new things. That kind of goes through the financials. Pages really get to page 29. We're going to do a big jump all the way back to 103. All this inner document is going to be a lot of detail of the notes, of the balances we just talked about, the changes about them, changes on the pension and the OPEB coverages, the combining schedules, your federal assistance and cents for the federal award, which primarily is increased by the lunchroom program for the year. It gives all this detail in these other pages from, again, page 29 pretty much to 102. So on 103, this is the second letter we talked about with government auditing standards. And again, from this standpoint, look at controls for significant deficiencies and for material weaknesses. And again, the difference is the material weakness is that the control is severe enough that it would not detect a material misstatement. A significant deficiency is just a control item, which we felt like was raised to a level that should be at least brought to the board's attention in this report. And going through here, you did have one significant deficiency from this year, which is an improvement from the prior year. And enforce compliance with laws and regulations. You did not have any findings from that standpoint. It was only a control item. On page 105, this is the letter for the federal programs. Again, for controls and compliance and an opinion and sense over those activities. And this year, the major program was going to be on the child nutrition and Title I programs, and you receive, again, a unmodified opinion on those programs. So a good report for controls, compliance, and opinion on those two federal programs that were major programs for this year's testing. Now, we'll flip over to page 108. It kind of gives a summary of the activity we just discussed, that you had, no material weaknesses. You did have the one significant deficiency, and no material weaknesses on the federal programs. And the two programs were Child Nutrition Cluster and Title I. The one comment we did mention about was a finding, was on page 109, and it deals primarily with the recording accruals at the end of the year for receivables and payables that will have an impact on the overall balances. So we made some larger adjustments this year that were in the positive manner overall to increase the overall revenues and incomes for the year. There were some costs also we would accrue too, but the revenues exceeded the cost. And again, you'll see in here the reviews, the responsible corrective actions, and the document also has a corrective action that management has put together of how to address this comment that we have provided to you. Eric, what's the next page? 111?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is what's called the management letter. These are items that are less severe than as far as heightened risk as the other letter did for controls. And primarily these relate to, are going to be what's called, the red book findings of the schools for the activity funds. And again, really a good report by just having 3 comments in 2 schools. So they've done a good job as far as going through the new red book that came out a couple of years ago, and have installed their policies in their policies and principles where, in a sense, standards are being followed with the red book overall in a consistent manner. And then I guess the last part we'll go to is the summary of audit adjustments. This is what we show in the sense that, we make fixed adjustments to the financials and also the pass on adjustments. You can go to the next page, Eric, from that standpoint. And this shows the adjustments where we passed on. They were deemed not material overall to the district, and therefore they were passed on, not booked. Everything that was material was booked and recorded. And I think that's pretty much the summary, the last sheet. Overall, to sum up the report, it was a good year, good for the general fund and for the the school food. The one comment did come about to help, I guess, overall the reporting, to increase the accrual reporting in sense from that standpoint. And it really is not as important throughout the year, except in June when we do the audits. It does become more apparent to have a good cutoff between years. I guess at this time I would, see if anybody would have a questions or comments from the report.
Are there any questions? All right, if not, I would need a motion to approve the annual financial audit for the fiscal year 20.
I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Wells. And a second by Ms. Bard. All in favor of approving the annual financial audit, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. And we'll move on down. Thank you, Mr. Lanny.
Thank you, Lanny.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on down to item B on our agenda, and that is to consider the SFCC fiscal year 2021 KETS offer of assistance. Mr. Bletzinger.
Thank you again, Chairman Rager, board members. This is our first offer, SFCC offer for KETS this year in the amount of $30,176. Again, these funds need to be matched, but it's a good way to extend the funds that we already put up for technology.
All right, I need a motion to approve. I have a motion by Mr. Bowers.
Second.
And second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering the SFCC KETS offer of assistance, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you again.
And now we're down to item C, to consider changing the date of the December board meeting. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chairman Rager. There's a scheduling conflict on that Thursday, so I'm asking if we could move the next board meeting until Tuesday, December 15th.
Is there any discussion on that?
Yeah, do we really need to have him here? He don't.
We can be more honest if he's not. No. All right, if there's no objections, I need a motion to approve changing our monthly December board meeting to December 15th instead of what was it going to be on the 19th?
I think it was the 17th to the 15th.
Okay, 17th to the 15th. I don't have my calendar in front of me, so from Thursday to Tuesday, say. And I have a motion by Mr. Bowers, and I will second. All in favor of changing our December board meeting from the 17th to the 15th of December, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none.
And Chairman Rager, I'd like to say that I oppose that comment.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so we'll move on down now to the item that we added, and that's item D. And this is to consider contracts for school-based mental health care provider.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for adding this on at the last minute. We were waiting on some paperwork to come in from EPSB and finally did receive that in time for you all to add tonight. But as we mentioned last month in the superintendent report, we have received $43,095 from KDE to use toward adding on to our current school-based mental health services. And we've thought about this and processed and tried to figure out what the best way to utilize that money would be. And so tonight we're bringing before you 2 contracts, and you'll notice on there, these are identical contracts for 2 different people. One is for Donna Harrison and the other is Sean Bruce. And what we would like to do is utilize these retired guidance counselors to help monitor our new relay alert system. This is a system that mostly Jarrett Moore and myself, we monitor that, and anytime that we have students to type in information in their Chromebooks that would indicate a potential for suicide or self-harm, then it generates an alert, and that comes to me, and Jarrett helps me make sure that I catch them all. He'll text me throughout the day, we've got one, we've got another one, and it's become quite comical because it seems like we're constantly talking about it, but the sad part is, and the reality is, that since we turned that system on September 24th, we've already had 56 relay alerts to be generated, and there's just a few of those that can be attributed to classroom assignments. Maybe the teacher assigned some type of suicide awareness activity, but the vast majority of those have been something that we really did need to look into and have resulted in suicide threat assessments, and have even had to call 911 to get help if we couldn't reach the parent immediately. So this is definitely something that we feel like we need to put some additional resources to. And they have the skill, they have the knowledge of our district, they have the previous training on suicide threat assessments, they understand how to navigate Infinite Campus, they know our guidance counselors and school psychologists now, so it would be a quick way to weave services around kiddos really quickly instead of bringing on new people right now. So if you all can look through that, you can see what the requirements for those people will be, and then you'll also notice in here the equipment and the materials that they will need, as well as their compensation. If you have any questions, I will definitely try to answer those for you now.
Is there any discussion or questions regarding this? If not, I I would need a motion to consider these contracts for our mental health providers for our schools.
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Bowers
Second.
and a second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering the contracts for the school-based mental health care providers, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. We'll move down this time to our board consent agenda items, which is approving the minutes of the prior board meetings, leave of absence requests, approving a donation of $8,614 from the Gentry Family Foundation to Central City Elementary School, and to declare some old textbooks at Central City Elementary surplus. Just want to say there is a couple of leaves that were not completely filled out. Just wanted to make a note of that. I guess Melody or
I've
don't know if you
noticed
saw
those.
those.
I have noticed those and contacted, so we're getting the dates to finalize those.
Okay, thanks. That just kind of stuck out to a couple of us, I think. Is there any other discussion on any of these items in our board consent agenda items? If not, I need a motion to approve our board consent agenda items.
I make a motion to approve and also thank the Gentry Family Foundation. Thank you.
Yes. Have a motion by Ms. Bard, and I'll second. All in favor of approving the board consent agenda items, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. And now we are down to adjourning. So
I make a motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Bard,
Second.
second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 All opposed? I hear none. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Thank you for a long night, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.